Good day, folks. This is Miss Banks, and we are going to talk today about the Adding and Subtracting Integer Study Guide. This is mainly for our 5-day week Google at Home students, but if you are someone who's hybrid and was in class and you need a little extra help, or maybe do not remember the answers we went over in class, then you can also watch this too. If you just want to study, that's fine. We're going to get started with the question number 1, which is, what is the additive inverse of -5? And if you can see my little screen down here, I think I got rid of it. But there it is. Okay, so additive inverse, I don't know if you can read this or not. I hope so, because I'm having a hard time blowing this up and making it bigger. But the first question is, what is additive inverse of -5? And I had written the definition of additive inverse. Additive inverse just means that you add two opposites. In other words, if you have 1 plus -1, it's going to equal 0. So when you add two opposites together, you always get 0. 2 plus -2, -10 plus 10, 5 plus -5, they all are going to equal 0. So when you see the term additive inverse, all it means is what is the opposite of the number that it's asking. So on question number 1, what is the opposite, or what is the additive inverse of -5? That's going to just simply be 5, because that is your opposite. Okay, number 2, on a given number line, what is the distance between points S and points T? Well, if they give you a number line, you should definitely use it, because if you're looking at the points, we have -4 for S and +3 for T. So I'm just going to count hops and try to see. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 7 hops between -4 and +3. So that means there's 7 units. Okay, number 3, point X has a coordinate of -2 and Y has a coordinate of +2 on the number line. What is the distance between X and Y? So anytime you have a number line question, I highly recommend you draw a number line. And I'm going to attempt to do this. I know it's probably not going to be the prettiest thing in the world because I'm using a pen, but I'm going to, this is my number line. I'm going to put a 0 here. Okay. Now, it says point X is a coordinate of -2, so I'm just going to say 1, 2. That's -2. And that is going to be my X. Okay. And Y has a coordinate of +2. 1, 2. And I can put my +2 there. And I can draw my Y. Okay, so now I just need to count the spaces, the hops in between right here to get to from -2 to +2. So I say 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like there are 4 units between +2 and -2. Question number 4, in Vancouver, the high temperature for the day was 6 degrees Celsius. On the same day, the high temperature in Calgary was -3 degrees Celsius. What was the difference in high temperatures between the two cities? Okay, so anytime you see a question that talks about distance, like altitude or elevation, or a temperature question, the first thing that should come to mind is to draw a vertical number line. That's just a number line that goes straight up and down, just like a thermometer goes. So it says in Vancouver, the temperature for the day was 6 degrees. So I'm going to put a 0 right here, 0 degrees, and then say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that was the high for that day. And in Calgary, it was -3. So 1, 2, 3. -3 degrees. Okay, so what is the difference? And that just means how far away are these two? So if I'm looking at this, I say, well, from 6 to 0, I know it's 6 spaces. And from 0 to -3, the distance is also 3 spaces. So if I'm looking from this space all the way down to this space, it looks like I have 6 plus 3 more, which is going to be 9 spaces. Okay, on number 5, and these questions are very, very, very easy to put into a calculator. But the first thing I want you to do is I want you to be able to look at these. And we have developed rules for adding and subtracting rational numbers. And the rules basically go that if you have the same signs, the two numbers are the same signs, like +2 and +5, then it's a +7. You add them and you keep the sign. If it's -2 plus -7, then you add them and you keep the sign. It's -7. -2 plus -5 is -7. If they have different signs, then you subtract them, and the number will be whichever one has the furthest distance away from 0. So in other words, 28 and -16. Well, those are different signs, so we're going to subtract because we go 28 over to the right, positive way on the number line, and then we go back 16. So it's basically like taking away 16. So 28 minus 16, and because 28 has a further distance on the number line than -16, then we are going to keep our number positive, which means that it can't be A because that's negative. So 16, and it can't be 44 because that's bigger than 28 and 16, and we're subtracting. So it's either going to be 12 or 28. Well, 28 minus 16 is not 28, so the answer has got to be B. The same thing for number 6. If you look at it, same signs you add, different signs you subtract. So if these are different signs, so we're going to subtract. So I know the answer cannot be C or D because it's got to be one of the two that's less than 137. So I want you guys to use your calculator, and I want you to subtract 137 plus -34 to get your answer. It's one of these two. Okay, these are same signs you add, different signs you subtract. These are different signs, so you will subtract. So it cannot, and it's going to be positive because 74 is greater than -56. So it can't be A or B. So it's going to have to be C or D. And I want you guys to come to the conclusion which answer it is. Okay. Number 8, anytime we have a subtraction sign in between them, we're going to follow the rule change. It's add the opposite, okay? So change rules means that you change the sign, you change the subtraction to an addition sign, and then you change the second number, you change that if it's the opposite. So if you have +6, you're going to make that -6. I call it add the opposite, so I say 13, -13. You never change the first number. We want to change that to addition, so plus, and that's a +6, so we want to make it a -6. Okay, -13 plus -6. Now we go back to our same addition rules. We have same signs, so we add, and our answer is going to be negative. So I want you guys to add -13 plus -6 to give me an answer. Okay, we're going to use the change rule here. Add the opposite of 12, so -46 plus, add the opposite, so -12. This should be good. Show it like that, add the opposite. -46 plus -12, so you have same signs, so you add, and your answer should be negative. So you guys can determine which, obviously these two it won't be because your answer is negative. Same signs you add, answer is negative. So it's going to be either A or B. Number 10, you have -128 minus -46, still a subtraction problem. So we do add the opposite of the number. So we want to say You want a plus instead of negative 46, we make it positive 46. So negative 128 plus positive 46. Okay, so now we have different signs because it's a negative 128 and a positive 46. So that means that you subtract them. That's the rules of addition, of adding integers. So you subtract them, and your answer is going to be negative because your negative 128 is further from the 0 or the further distance on the number line than positive 46. So it's going to be one of these two. You guys have to figure that out. Okay, number 11. In this set of chips, each plain chip has a value of -1, and each striped chip has a value of +1. What is the value of the set? So if each plain is negative, I'm just going to write a negative. And each striped chip is positive. Okay, so we go back to that rule of additive inverse again. That's down there in the bottom of your screen. Additive inverse just means when you add two opposites, it equals 0. Okay, when you add two opposites, it equals 0. So that means that if I have a -1 and a +1, if I add them together, they're going to be 0. So these are called 0 pairs. Anytime you have a negative chip and a positive chip, you can just mark them out because they equal 0. And whatever you have left is your answer. So our answer is -2, B. Okay, number 12, if a black circle represents a positive one and a white circle represents a negative one, which diagram represents the number -2? All right, so these are also 0 pairs. Now, if the dark circle represents is positive, right, is just 1, and the open circle or the white circle is equal to -1. Well, that's a very bad one, but okay, then I can use my 0 pairs, cancel out. And this one I have 2 white ones left, so that's -2, which I think that's what we're looking for, but we're going to go do all of them just in case. These cancel out, and all you have left is 1 white one, so that's -1. These cancel out, so you have 4 white ones left, so that's -4. And then these are just 2. You don't have anything to cancel out, it's just +2. So it looks like if we're looking for -2, A represents -2. Number 13, the highest elevation in a small country occurs on a mountain 1,232 meters above sea level. So if it's above sea level, then it means it's way up here. If you're drawing a number line, it's going to be at the top. The same elevation, same country has the lowest elevation in the same country is a -27 meters. So this one is a positive 1,232 meters. This one has a -27 meters below sea level. Below sea level. What is the difference in elevation? Okay, so anytime I see that it says what's the distance or what's the difference in the elevation, I'm going to draw a vertical number line. Okay, and since I'm going to put my 0 right about here, now it says my first elevation is 1,232. I'm going to erase that just a little bit because it's hard to see the 1. 1,232. So I'm just going to write 1,232 because there's no way I want to put 1,232 little hash marks between 0 and 1,232. But I know that this represents the distance of 1,232. because it's from 0 to 1,232. Okay, well, negative 27 is going to be about right here. That's the lowest point. It's below sea level. And it's from here to here is 27. So I've got 1,232. That's the distance from here to here. And the distance for 0 to negative 27 is just 27. So if I add these two together, I should find my overall distance. I will let you guys add it together and see what the distance is. Okay. So hopefully you know it's not 46 meters, because that's a whole lot bigger than 46 meters. And it probably isn't 456 meters either. So it's either going to be 1,259 meters or none of these. So you can narrow it down to two questions or two choices. During 1 year, the highest temperature was recorded in July at a record of 106 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's pretty hot. The lowest temperature recorded in January was a low of negative 17 degrees Fahrenheit. What was the difference between the recorded high and the recorded low? So if it's asking me what the difference in temperatures are, I'm going to draw a vertical number line because this is a thermometer question. All right. Okay, and so put my 0 here. And I'm going to say 106 degrees is way up here. And negative 17 is down here. And so I have to figure out how far it is between 106 and negative 17. Okay? All right, so I know this is 106 degrees, and I know this is 17 more. So you guys need to add 106 plus 17 to figure out what your answer is. Now, you may be saying, well, Miss Banks, that's a negative 17. But if you subtract that, you're going to be subtracting 17 from the 0. Let me show you how to write this as an equation. You would say 106. The difference is a subtraction word, so I'd say minus, and then negative 17. Well, if I use my rules for adding and subtracting integers, if I have a subtraction sign, I do change. So I end up saying plus the positive 17, which is saying 106 plus 17. And that will give you your answer. So that is how you write it as an equation versus drawing on the number line. Okay, the temperature inside a freezer is recorded at negative 4 degrees Celsius. Normal body temperature is 37 degrees. What's the difference between these temperatures? Okay, well, this is a vertical number line question. So you've got your 0. You got 37 up here. And you got negative 4 down here. Okay, so you have to determine the difference from 37 to 0 and 0 to 4. So what is the whole difference right there? And if you want to make it an equation, since the word difference is there, and you know you're subtracting, you say 37 minus, not minus 4, but minus negative 4. And that's how you end up adding, because you add the opposite when you subtract integers. That looks really bad. Hold on. So that kind of looks like a Y. Sorry, that's a 4. So when you do that, you add the opposite, and so it becomes 37 plus 4, which is going to be what? One of your answers here. Number 16, the hottest weather temperature recorded on Earth was 58 degrees Fahrenheit, or Celsius, sorry. The coldest weather temperature recorded on Earth was negative 88 degrees Celsius in Antarctica. What was the range between these temperatures? Okay, so the range, which means how far apart were they? What's the distance? What's the difference? Same thing. We have a lot of these distance questions. 0. We got 58 here. And we have negative 88 down here. And I'm hoping that at this point, you're beginning to see how to figure these out. So you've got to determine the difference between 58, go from 58 to 0, and from 0 to negative 88. So what is the distance from here to here? 88 plus 58. To write that down, you'd say 58 subtract negative 88, and that would become our add the opposite. Ooh, that 8 was rough. Okay. So if you add the opposite, it looks like 88 plus 58. 8 and 8, 16. And 8 and 5 is 13. But you add 1, so 146 maybe. Looks like it's going to be D. Okay. All right, number 17 says simplify the 15 minus negative 7. Well, this is subtraction. Don't let these little lines throw you off. Those are just called absolute value lines, okay? Absolute value means the distance. If you can see this, absolute value is the distance from your 0 on a number line. Distance from 0 on a number line, okay? So, in other words, if you go ahead and do your change, so 15 minus negative 7, change is 15 plus 7. And 15 plus 7 is 22. And it's just saying how far, that's what those lines are. How far is 22 from 0? Well, negative 22 is 22 from 0, and so is 22. So the answer is D. It's just distance from 0 is 22. Number 18, the afternoon's temperature in Edmonton is 30 degrees Celsius. The weather report predicts that temperature will fall by 10 degrees during the night. If that happens, what will tonight's low temperature be? So if we have 3 degrees Celsius, and it predicts the temperature will fall is an action word, and it means to go down by 10 degrees, what will the tonight's temperature be? So we're going to say 3 plus negative 10, which if you had wrote 3 minus 10, that's the same thing. 3 minus 10 is the same thing as 3 plus negative 10, but that's with the change rule. So we have 3 and 10. So if you have different signs, you subtract, and you keep the sign of the largest number. So 10 minus 3 is 7, but it is negative. So we have negative 7. So it looks like it is B. The last question says, in your option, do you think that you're ready for this test? I believe that no matter what you select, it's going to just give you a wrong answer, but it gives us an indication of whether we feel like you're ready or not. So go ahead and select one of the two and hit submit, and then we will add a point to your grade. That way, if you get all these correct, you will get 19 out of 19 points. All right, you guys have a great day, and I hope this video helps.